Hey everybody, Congressman Mark Green. Welcome to Whiteboard Wednesday. You know, last week we had a historic vote on the floor of the House, and it was very interesting because conservatives split, which very rarely happens. You had, Congressman Jim Jordan, Chairman Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, myself, Thomas Massey, and others vote for it, and then you had other conservatives vote against it. And that's created a lot of questions in the minds of conservatives, so I thought I would at least share my perspective. First let's set the tone. In the House, we have a very slim Republican majority. The Senate is Democrat-controlled, and the White House is Democrat-controlled. Joe Biden, because of that leverage, was saying we're not even negotiating, and for 114 days, I believe it was, didn't meet with McCarthy. Finally, when they did, they were only going to do a clean debt ceiling, wouldn't negotiate on a bill. And then they decided ultimately that they needed to do that, pressure from the American people, and they negotiated. And the result was the first bill in well over a decade to decrease spending year on year. And it wasn't what it should have been, and it wasn't what it could have been. What it wound up being was a cut of about $2 trillion, meaning at 10 years from now, we'd be $6 trillion more in debt. Instead, we're going to be $4 trillion more in debt for now. There's more coming. So this bill decreases it for $2 trillion. Really, this line, Washington needs it to go way down here, right? But this bill did a lot of other things. If there was no agreement on appropriations, there's an automatic 1% cut in spending and a continuing resolution. It solidifies or strengthens work requirements for SNAP and TANF. It does permitting reform, basically taking environmental protection, crazy process of permitting for bridges and roads and things like that, and shrinks that timeline. So anytime you can, cut environmental protection stuff is a good thing. It ended the moratorium on student loan repayment, $5 billion a month. 2 years of actual budget caps, that's a good thing. And it clawed back $30 billion in COVID dollars. Should have been a lot better, but there was some good stuff in the bill. The concern was about a discharge petition that was sitting at the desk, a mechanism whereby one member can bring a bill directly to the floor if they have the majority of people signing the petition. This was 4 signatures short of coming to the floor, and if you've got the majority and it gets to the floor, it means it's going to pass, right? Well, 4 signatures were needed for a clean debt ceiling, 0 cuts. And 10 Republicans had already said they're not going to let the government default. So this would have passed if we didn't pass this bill. So essentially that left 2 choices. A choice between 0 cuts and a clean debt ceiling increase, or 2 trillion cuts, the automatic 1% cut if they can't agree on approach, work requirements for SNAP and TANF, and all the other stuff. And that's why guys like Chairman Jordan and I and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Massey and the others voted for the cuts. Again, Republicans voted against it. Good to make a statement about spending. Republicans, conservatives voted for it. Conservatives voted for it because when it came down to it, it was really a choice between no cuts and $2 trillion in cuts. And I've never voted for a clean debt ceiling, and I never will.